So I finally played Roblox Grow a Garden, and honestly, I don't really know what I was expecting going into the game, but it was not quite this, because again, I want to be clear. I love this game. In fact, I wasn't expecting to like this game nearly as much as I did. It is strangely addicting. Now again, for context, I'm not that far into the game. I've really only played for a couple of hours up to this point. So again, I understand, like, my base, my garden, not great. In fact, I was kind of proud of myself after a couple of hours of playing. Like, okay, I've come a long way. I showed my base to my brother and he was like, your garden is trash. Although, to be fair, he might have called me trash. It might have been both. Like, I don't fully remember. Regardless, though, I'm not that far along. I even kind of understand, like, I'm still relatively broke. But hey, progress, not perfection. Anyway, though, I heard about this game, Grow a Garden, so I was like, you know what? I gotta try it. I've never had any success with growing a real garden in real life. In fact, I am shockingly good at killing plants by accident. My grandma, who has a spectacular garden, called me a disgrace, although to be fair, that might have had nothing to do with gardening. But anyway, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play this game Grow a Garden, which I heard is blowing up right now because it looked kind of interesting. Now, some of the different gardens I was seeing, I was like, what kind of witchcraft is that? Like, seriously, what did you build? But I was also strangely intrigued, like, okay, that looks kind of fun. So even as someone like myself who is rather incompetent, especially when it comes to video games, because I don't really play a lot of them, I was like, you know what? Let me try it. And I powered it up. I was a little worried at first, like, okay, would it be easy to understand? No, it is shockingly easy to understand. They're like, hey, go here, okay? Go here, buy your seeds. Okay, good. You bought your seeds. Okay, I understood that. Then go back to the garden, plant the seeds. Okay, good. And then even when they sprouted, I'm like, okay, it feels like witchcraft, but it's just science, or it's a game, or whatever. You know what I mean? And then it's like, hey, go back, sell them, and rinse and repeat. And I remember just that process of when I made my first sale. It was the most simple and basic thing, but yet it was strangely satisfying. I was like, okay, that feeling of satisfaction was like, okay, I am definitely going to get addicted to this game. I might eventually have a problem with this game because it does seem highly addicting. But again, it was not all smooth sailing because again, I am kind of incompetent. So I made, like, right off the bat, I made an incredibly stupid mistake. And I am pre-warning you, okay, this is going to sound really stupid because it is, right? So after I sold my carrots and I had more funds, I bought a strawberry and some carrots and I went back to the garden and I planted them. Okay, so all good so far. So how can I screw this up? Well, sure enough, the carrots, they sprout. I collect them. Okay, that's good. But then I was wondering, like, why is the strawberry taking so much longer? Like, I was a little confused at first. And then I saw, like, the strawberry appear to come out, but it wasn't, like, fully ready yet. But again, I'm kind of incompetent and I've never played this game before, so I was like, am I doing something wrong? So I was like, I've got a shovel, and I was like, okay, maybe I actually have to, like, pull it up with the shovel or something like that. I did not. No, I just destroyed the plant. It is a good thing I at least had some of the carrots that I harvested to sell. Otherwise, I would have been cooked right from the start. But yeah, no, that was a shockingly stupid mistake right off the bat. But I was like, I'm not going to make that mistake again. And sure enough, I felt like I was getting the hang of things. Now, one of the other incredibly stupid things I did, really I did two primarily stupid things. The first I talked about. The second was more so that it took me way too long to realize something because again, I was walking back and forth between my garden, the marketplace, and things like that. And it took me way too long to realize that those three options above were actually buttons that could immediately transport you between the garden, between the seed shop, and you know what I mean? Anyway, I realize how stupid that sounds, but just know this. No matter what you will say to me, you will not make me feel as stupid as I felt in that moment because I felt so incredibly dumb. Like, that seemed so obvious in the past. Not that it took me, like, way too long, but it also took me way too long. Yeah, no, it definitely took me too long. I don't even know why I was trying to justify that. But regardless, as simple as it was, because again, it was nothing overly complex to, you know, buy the seeds, plant the seeds, harvest the seeds, sell the seeds, buy better seeds, rinse and repeat. As simple as that was, it was still so satisfying because it's like, okay, I feel like I'm leveling up. But again, everything with this game was relatively new to me. For example, like when I bought the blueberries next and I planted them, I wasn't expecting the plant to look like that or be as big as it was. But regardless, I realized, like, okay, for this first playthrough, I would have like one major goal I would try and reach, because again, I only had like a couple of hours tops to play this game. So I was like, okay, let me choose a goal. And sure enough, I saw in the seed store, they were selling bananas for 7,000 shekels, although I kept calling them cents, but I was like, okay, that will be my first goal. So I was like, okay, eventually when I have enough funds, I will buy the banana, plant the banana, harvest it, sell it, and then I will basically say, okay, I accomplished all I wanted to for this first playthrough. But yes, I kept leveling up the seeds and even seeing like, okay, what would be the next seeds available in stock in the seed shop? That was kind of fun to wait in anticipation, but at the same time, as the game would go on, it would be kind of frustrating when some of the stuff that you thought would be in stock was out of stock. But anyway, then I would level up, I would buy some tomatoes, and I felt like the game was going pretty well. But then this right here is the point where I got a little bit frustrated, because I would start buying a bunch of cauliflower, right? And I would plant it, and I kept checking back in on it, and I kept expecting like, okay, it's probably like 70% done, 80% done, and then it would say 20% done. Now, to be clear, in hindsight, like the cauliflower wait time is not as bad as some of the other wait times of some of the other plants I've seen. But at the same time, this felt like the first major jump in wait time. Like, don't get me wrong, it did feel like from the carrots to the strawberries to the blueberries to the tomatoes, like it would increase in wait time. But this felt like a much larger increase in wait time. I don't know if anyone else had that same realization, maybe not, but I was like, okay, please, like, let's keep going. Because again, I had planted like 5 or 6 cauliflower and none of them had sprouted after waiting what felt like so long. So I was like, I was starting to lose it. Like, okay, just grow, okay? Like, okay, you know what? I'm not trying to rush you, but like, grow. But anyway, I certainly had to start getting used to the longer wait times, and I kept leveling up with this fruit after this fruit after this fruit. I even remember how satisfying it felt once I got past 10,000 shekels, which I know isn't a lot, but it was at the time to me. And I would buy watermelon and all sorts of other different plants. And as I was playing, I started to get a little nostalgic for the old Tycoon games I used to play. I didn't play a lot of games growing up, but I played the Tycoon games, whether it was Zoo Tycoon, Roller Coaster Tycoon. And again, this game kind of made me nostalgic for the Tycoon games I played growing up. But regardless, more and more time would go by. And also because it was my first time playing, I was surprised by the way a lot of different plants would look. Like when the cauliflower finally came up for the first time, I was a little surprised how it looked. I was like, okay. Like, don't get me wrong, I was happy it finally sprouted, or mostly I was just relieved because I was starting to wonder, like, is it actually ever gonna sprout? Sure enough, it did. Anyway, I felt like I was making a lot of momentum. Now, one of the things I had to get used to as more time would go on would be the seed shop, because it felt like at first, everything I would need to buy would always be in stock. But as time would go on, I remember there was a point where I was like, okay, let me get to 10,000 shekels so I could buy a kiwi seed. And I got to the 10,000 shekels, but the store reset and then the kiwi seeds were out of stock. That was the first major point where something was out of stock that I wanted and I had the money for. But anyway, I kept saving up and then I had enough for the banana. Like the banana was 7,000, I had more than that, but I was also like, you know what, I have a little bit more time to play this game right now. So then right under it, I saw the pineapple and I was like, well, that's 7,500 shekels. So I'm like, okay, let me buy that. This is where I started to realize like, okay, I'm actually having a lot of fun playing this game. Like the fact is, I could have accomplished my goal, but I was like, I've got a little bit more time. Now, one of the things I must admit still kind of confuses me, which I will learn more about next time, is with like the summer harvest and things like that. Because I dropped some stuff off at the summer harvest and then I left my computer to go and take a break. It was like to maybe get a snack or something like that. I came back and all of a sudden, I guess I received some shekels from the summer harvest because I had over 100,000 shekels and I was like, wait, what happened? And when I kind of looked through like the gameplay footage, I was like, okay, so it seems like whatever happened with the summer harvest gave me a lot of shekels, especially a lot for me. I know I'm still relatively broke, but even so, like 100,000 shekels is a lot considering what I started with. But anyway, then I finally went back, I bought a banana, I planted it, and I was not expecting the banana tree to get quite as tall as it did. Now don't get me wrong, I love seeing the banana tree grow taller and taller, especially because it kind of made me realize like my garden was a mess at this point, you know, still relatively small, but definitely a mess, and it definitely didn't have a bunch of height to it. In fact, the banana tree added a lot of height, but it was only one tree. So then I started to get a little bit picky and I was like, ooh, okay, next time I play this game, I'm going to start adding all sorts of trees and all sorts of tall plants and things like that. Because again, it's really like the tall plants, it's the trees and stuff like that really make you feel like you've progressed a lot further. But anyway, the bananas finally sprouted. I harvested them. I sold everything I harvested. I had over 150,000 shekels, which I know is still not that much, but it felt like a lot of progress, especially within like the first hour and a half, 2 hours of the game. But anyway, that was the first time I played this game. Lot of fun. I am excited to play it again. If you want to see more of these videos, remember to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.